Welcome everyone to the Ubuntu Community Q&A. I'm here with Alan Pope.
That's me.
Brilliant. And we already have a few questions coming in, which is good. If you're on ubuntuonair.com, please use the chat widget. Below the video feed, just put in your favorite nickname, and then you can join the conversation and ask all the questions you might have. Just make sure you prefix them with question in capital letters so we can more easily pick them up. Alan, did you have any announcements or anything you wanted to bring up?
Yes. Other than the fact that, for those who don't know, we do this every week at this time, 1600 UTC, as long as you don't mess up the time zones for calendars and daylight savings and whatever other reason. Sometimes it's myself and Daniel, other times it's Mike or Nick or David, other members of the community team. We all work on the community team. We hope to answer any question you throw at us. Generally, we try not to encourage technical support style questions, like, why is my video card not working? Because we're not really equipped to answer those, and this isn't the best forum for that. So for those kind of technical support questions, we will probably throw you to #Ubuntu on IRC, or askubuntu.com is really good, or one of the many other million places you can get support for Ubuntu. But any other question is fair game, really. If we don't know the answer, we'll throw it to someone else. We might tell you where you can find the right answer, or suggest who's the right person to ask, or I don't know, something else, or just not answer it. I don't know.
Yeah, that works as well.
I did have one thing to mention, and that is this week I work on the core apps with a whole bunch of awesome community people, and every so often we do a hack week, and we're doing one this week. From the 8th to the 12th of December, so that's this week that we're doing this video Q&A. And the whole idea behind it is to promote the core apps, get more people involved, and show how much fun it can be developing apps for Ubuntu, because it is quite good fun. If you're interested in getting involved, you might have a particular itch to scratch. You might have tried one of the core apps and spotted a bug and thought, I can fix that. Then dive in. They're all free software. They're all hosted on Launchpad, and you could grab the code and have a poke around with it, and drop by our IRC channel, which is #Ubuntu app devel with little dashes between, Ubuntu-app-devel. Or jump on the Ubuntu phone mailing list, or just ping me, however, Twitter, Google+, whatever. And I'll put you in touch with the right people. We had, just 20 minutes ago, someone drop by the IRC channel. It was great. And say, hey, I'd like to get involved in the Hack Week. What do I do? And we just asked them, like, 2 questions. What are you interested in? And what are your skills? And point them in the right direction, and off they go. So it's a pretty easy on-ramp to get involved in Ubuntu development. And like I say, it is good fun. The people are really nice, and myself excluded. I'm a horrible tyrant. But everyone else is really nice, and it's quite a good fun project to work on. So yeah, drop by and let us know if you're involved. I think that was everything there.
Brilliant. Yeah, you mentioned Twitter, Google+, and everything else. That reminds me of making Jose happy, or trying to make Jose happy. Yeah, there's the Twitter, YouTube, Google+, and other accounts of Ubuntu on Air. If you want to stay tuned and find out which video sessions we have, what's being discussed, and which new shows are up on YouTube, just make sure you subscribe to them, and you're always going to get the latest news. Apart from that, oh yeah, I wanted to mention the Ubuntu Community Team mailing list, because we have quite a few healthy discussions going on right now. Just this morning, I think it was Laura who said, whenever I thought I had caught up with mailing list discussions, there's a whole bunch of new mails coming in right at that moment, and that's what's happening right now as well. And I think it's great. A lot of ever since we have this mailing list, which just has been like 3 or 4 months or something, a lot of people came up with lots of ideas what we can do in the community team, how we can invite in more people, what we can do. And I think that's brilliant. And even if a lot of the discussion is just generating ideas and not immediate work items, I think that's perfectly fine. We always needed a place to have this discussion and figure out what we could do. So I think that's fantastic. Just had a... You're muted, Alan.
The creation of that list actually came out from an idea that someone had that we should be doing things differently, and it was you guys in the community team at Canonical are doing something wrong. Let's do it better by creating this mailing list, and that was like the first step. So now we've got a whole bunch of people with other ideas of how we can do things better. So we're always striving to improve the way we work and the way we communicate and what we're doing for Ubuntu. And we're willing to listen to any valid suggestion, especially if it comes along with, and here's a prototype I did, or and I'm willing to take that on and I'll fix that. That's even better, because as keen as we all are to fix all of these issues that people are raising, we've all got a limited amount of time in the day, and all of us need to have a sleep now and then, and maybe eat, and maybe see our family. The more people we get involved in identifying where these problems or issues are and fixing them, the better.
Exactly. Especially if, like, what I really like is every now and then we have people coming in who are part of some other community, who are, I don't know, people who are involved in OpenStreetMap or Couchsurfing or whatever else, like a small club somewhere, and they say, look, we tried out this, it really worked well in our group, why don't you have a go at it and see if it works for you?
Yeah.
Like, just bring in your ideas. It's just great that we have so many people who care about the community aspect of Ubuntu, that we want to have teams which are working well, who are effective, who just have a lot of fun doing whatever they're interested in. So join the conversation on the Ubuntu Community Team mailing list. If you're not afraid of getting a few mails every now and then, it's good fun.
Yeah, maybe whatever email client you use, maybe create a filter of some kind, because if you close your eyes for 8 hours, then you might wake up and our community is far and wide across the world in every time zone. You can get a lot of mail appearing overnight. So
yeah,
the archives is another way to do it. Just, have a look at the archives. They're all public and archived online, so have a look at those.
Yeah, we just had a chat. We also have an IRC channel. It's Ubuntu-community-team on Freenode, so you can join that as well. And we just had a bit of a chat earlier where we tried to figure out, like, how can we take all of this discussion, all these ideas, and turn them into something, something like work items, or where we can bring together people who are willing to say, okay, this is a small sub-project, we're going to work on this tomorrow and then get it done. Just find a way how we can turn this more into something that can be done, as opposed to just being discussed.
Yeah, we don't want to spend all day just discussing it and not actually doing it. There's a bit of doing to be done as well.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, we had the idea of having a meeting. Maybe we should just try it out and see how it goes. Maybe that would help that people can bring up like a solid proposal, and we just say, okay, we have this 1 hour, we have 2 or 3 subjects to discuss, and we want to come to a conclusion in that time. Maybe that's an approach. So I think I'm going to just write a blog post and see what people think, and then we can schedule the first meeting and see how it goes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and also, if what Ellen said earlier just reminded me about this hangout, we want to answer all the questions you might have, but if you have any suggestions, like any people we should invite, people we should bring on, have a chat, a small interview, or if you want something demoed, I think we could do that as well for a bit of variety.
Yeah, people are sick of seeing our faces, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't blame them.
Well, indeed.
Right. Should we have a look at the questions, or?
Yeah, let's do that.
Brilliant. All right. Where's the first one? So Mario said, exist many different Ubuntu-like distro, for example, Ubuntu, Kubuntu, etc. Maybe it's better a single distro where you can the main graphic interface. So yeah, I think that wasn't really a question, but
I think it followed from a question that was asked just prior to us starting about why do we use Unity on the desktop? I think.
Yeah. I guess that was connected. Yeah. So I think it's brilliant that we have lots of different interfaces to choose from. People should just scratch their itch, do what they like, and Ubuntu is a fantastic platform for everything. So, and I mean, I had a small and very old computer, and I installed Ubuntu on it. Most of the time, I just use regular Ubuntu Unity, and it works great for me. But on that laptop, it was just Ubuntu made more sense. So, brilliant.
Yeah,
I didn't want to change anything.
Having that common archive where everyone is working together, you've all got different goals in mind. Like it could be that you're a command line hero and you use the server all the time, or it could be that you want to build a media center based computer, or a file server for your house or anything like that. The idea is you could use Ubuntu for all of those things. You don't have to run Unity on all of them. Your home server wouldn't necessarily run Unity. Your media center might not run Unity because you might want a super lean desktop that boots straight into some media playback interface like XBMC or MythTV or something like that. So I think it's completely appropriate and desirable for us to have multiple flavors that each have a different advantage to bring. So while we can consider Unity to be like a universal interface that could be used for anyone, strictly speaking, that's not true. If you want to run a home server, you're not going to put Unity on it, and a media center, you might want something lightweight. So I think it's great that there are different options. What I also think is good is that if you actually don't like Unity or you don't like KDE, you don't have to use it. You could just switch to a different desktop. Like Daniel says, if you've got a really lean machine, I've got an ARM-based laptop, and it would be really quite sluggish if I ran a really modern desktop on it. But I can run something lightweight like LXDE on there. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Another example I had, I can't remember what it was.
And while you use those other flavors of Ubuntu, you also get the best of Ubuntu, like a regular release cycle with all the security updates and everything. So having all of this in one archive makes loads and loads of sense.
And you get the same versions of everything across all your systems. So, for example, I might have a home server. I might also have a desktop and a laptop. And so long as they're all pulling from the same Ubuntu archive and they're all running like an LTS release, then I know that when I run any application, any command line tool, I know the command line switches are going to be the same across all of them. And I know the configuration files are going to be in the same place across all of them. And I know that if I'm using something like Mutt as my email client or ERC as my IRC client, I know I can just copy the config around across all of those machines and use the same app and not have to worry about, this one's running Debian, that one's running Arch, this one's running Ubuntu. So they've all got different versions of application. I just don't have to worry about that. I just run Ubuntu everywhere, and whatever desktop or user interface is appropriate. Thanks. Awesome.
That's one. All right, next question. Akiva asks, why is Debian all up in a fuss over systemd?
Oh, blimey. The problem is that to say Debian is in a fuss I don't think is necessarily accurate. I think
No, it isn't.
Debian and Ubuntu and Arch and Fedora are projects that comprise multiple developers, users, designers, advocates, documentation writers, artists, and so on. And each person has their own opinion, and different people at different places in the structure of each of those distros and organizations has their own opinion, and they may influence one project or another to go in one particular direction or another. I think one of the problems that Debian's had recently is that switching to System D has been problematic for them, because it means that they might not be able to fulfill other parts of their charter. For example, they might not be able to have the same software on every architecture, or the same software on every kernel, not
Right.
just but herd or whatever other,
FreeBSD.
the FreeBSD kernels and so on, and that's hard for them, and because they're very policy driven. When something comes along, a new piece of software comes along that potentially messes up that policy, that's a problem for them, and it needs a lot of discussion, it needs a lot of thrashing. And because you've got people on different sides of this, there's going to be a clash. You're never going to get consensus about it. And I think that's actually one of the benefits that we have in Ubuntu, is that for all the criticism we get for making opinionated choices, we've always done that. We've always done that right from the start. It's always been desktop ships with Rhythmbox, Firefox, OpenOffice. That was on day one, and that was an opinionated choice made by Canonical and the wider Ubuntu community about what ships on the CD. Debian doesn't work like that. They have to come to a common consensus and vote and have a lot of discussion. Whereas we can escalate to the technical board, or in effect Mark at the top of the tree, and just say make a decision and get it done. So we haven't had quite as much of a problem with this as Debian. But in some ways, I'm thankful that was all thrashed out, so that we didn't have to.
Yeah, that's right. And there's, for some people, Linux is all about choice, but that choice comes at a cost as well, like a maintenance cost. That's probably not obvious to a lot of people. So it's also part of it, and I guess some are a bit. Some, I can't say how many, but I guess a few are worried that a lot of projects now find themselves under the System D umbrella. So a lot of stuff is developed in there. So maybe that's also worrying a few individuals. But like in general, System D is where we're going, and I couldn't. Or it would surprise me if any of our users would note a big difference. Maybe
Right.
if you're a sysadmin and you rely on some functionality in bringing up your services, maybe. But
Or if you actively measured something, if you actively benchmarked, 1404 with Upstart, benchmarked certain specific actions,
yeah,
and then benchmark the same thing in 1604. The problem is there's so many moving parts that change between 1404 and 1604 that I'm assuming 1604 would ship with System D. Let's take that as read. That it's very difficult to nail that down. I'm sure some people will benchmark it and say, hey, look, System D is faster than Upstart. Great, everyone moves forward, everyone's a winner.
all right. Shall we move on then?
Yeah.
Okay. I think one System D question per week is enough, right? Okay. Belkinza asked, will Mark Shuttleworth come to this meeting?
If we invite him, sure.
We should have a chat with him.
We often get Mark at there's a number of community events that we do throughout the year, and we often have an Ask Mark session, and they're really popular. When you put the guy who started the project and runs the company and is in a strong leadership position for the project, and just say, ask him anything you like, you get a lot of questions. So yeah, we certainly could do. We'll add him to the list of people we might want to invite to come on.
Brilliant. Akiva asked, any Christmas announcements? It's not quite Christmas yet, is it?
Shall I reply with my Amazon wish list?
Yeah, good idea.
I'm kidding. I don't have any Christmas announcements personally. Oh, I see where we're going with that. Maybe we're talking, I don't know, devices. Can you be more specific?
Sorry, what was that?
I said be more specific.
Yeah, there was a question about was it other companies beyond BQ and Meizu. This is probably not the first place where you're going to hear about it.
Well, okay, so yeah, there are other companies beyond BQ and Meizu, but we don't know who they are. So
It's
the
yeah.
company that deals with the relationships with partners is not the bit of the company that me and Daniel work for, and they, they're working on those things and planning a pipeline of companies into the future, and I'm glad that they're doing that bit of work. I wouldn't want that. So.
Yeah, if you need some decision-making help, it's usually the people wearing ties. Ellen and I, we work on the hippie end of the spectrum, and that's I like it like that.
Yes, me too.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like a lot of I think a lot of people imagine Canonical to be like this one company where everyone knows everything that's going on, and that's not quite the case. Like I don't even know most of our partners who we work with. Sometimes there's announcements which I learn out of looking at Insights Ubuntu.com, where there's a blog post about Dell setting up 1,000 shops in India and China, and that's the first place where I hear about this, or a deal where we make some millions. I just learn out of it.
We both have had an opportunity to go to, speaking of Dell, to Dell trade events recently, where we've been on stands talking to people who work for Dell and Dell's customers. And Dell is just one of the companies that sell machines with Ubuntu pre-installed. It's one that me and Daniel have both had close experience of recently. And it was very interesting to hear in countries all around the world. I went to Turkey. Where did you go, Daniel? Was yours in Germany? Right.
Germany, yeah.
Hearing stories from customers who are either using Ubuntu or plan to use Ubuntu on like Dell or other manufacturers' kit. Because we're heads down creating the software and building the community, and then there are people out there who just grab the ISO image and spin it out to 1,000 servers or something, or sell it on a huge number of machines. It's great for us to get out there and actually see the work that we're doing being used by normal people. You and me.
Okay. Another question from Akiva. Which scopes came up in the recent contests?
Sorry, what was that?
Which scopes came up in the contest?
So there's a bunch of scopes created. For those of you who didn't know, every software we have a contest, and we use the contest to promote the use of Ubuntu and development on and for Ubuntu, and it's also a good way for us to exercise the SDK and the tools and everything. And we recently had a scopes contest where we asked the community to develop scopes, and the contest finished last week, I think. Was it last week or last Wednesday?
Yeah,
last Wednesday. And it's now at a stage where all the judges, of which I'm one, are reviewing those scopes, and we'll probably blog about them and make an announcement shortly. We've got to wait for all of the judges to review all of the scopes on the device, and then we'll collate all of that and announce who the winner is, and the winner will win a Dell laptop. Rather awesome. They are really, really nice, those Dell laptops.
Yeah, should have considered writing a scope myself. But then I forgot his name, Bogdan or something, Bogdan. He came up with a mixed cloud scope. That would have been my idea as well. Love mixed cloud.
Excellent. Yeah, there were some good ones in there. It's Robert Schroll created a Gmail one, and there's some others that are doing location-aware scopes, that kind of thing, so you can like surface location-aware data directly to your face without having to drill down into an app somewhere. It's quite good.
And how long do you know how long the judges are going to have a look at the scopes? It's going to take a week, a month, 2 months?
Oh no, I don't know.
Soon.
Yeah, it should be soon. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a blog post with.
Yeah, I would hope before the end.
What happened? All right. Yeah, Belkinsa said the question about the meeting where we invite Mark was about the community meeting we talked about earlier, and I just said I would imagine this meeting to be a regular thing, and if we want to have Mark there, we need to especially invite him. Like his schedule is quite full.
Yes.
Right. Another question from Akiva: is System D faster than Upstart? I don't know. I'm going to leave this to Veronix to answer. Good place. No?
Yeah, no. That's an absolutely right answer. Yeah. Anyone needs to know benchmarking, go to Veronix.
Here we go. All right. What is the future for policy of proprietary driver, like for example for NVIDIA? I just bought a GTX 750 Ti and I have to use PPA repository to install latest driver. Good question. I don't know. I can put you in touch with somebody who knows a lot more about NVIDIA cards. I don't know why you have to use a PPA. I guess it's probably because you need to have the latest and greatest. I don't know. I'll put you in touch with Alberto.
Yeah, it's a common question actually. That someone who buys a super high-end video card, especially a brand new one, it often needs a fairly recent version of the binary NVIDIA driver to get the most out of it, and to support all the features and get the maximum frames per second and all that kind of stuff. And it's a problem that's plagued us for a long time. Is that people will then the version of the driver in the archive is older than the version that's on the NVIDIA website. So people just go to the NVIDIA website where there's an installer for Linux, and download it, run it, and it updates their driver. And part of the problem is that the version in the archive is old. It's older than the version on the website because NVIDIA iterate on that driver all the time. Like I think every 2 weeks or so there's a new version. It seems like that anyway. So yeah, I can see an advantage there for a kind of an exception in the same way that we deliver stable versions of Chromium and Firefox to LTS releases. It would make sense for us to do the same for NVIDIA drivers. The problem is someone needs to actually do that, and there's a whole load of testing that needs to be done because the video driver is quite a fundamental part of your boot process, and if we mess that up and you get a black screen when you boot the machine, or you try and log in and your desktop doesn't appear, which are two symptoms that happen when the video driver breaks, that you're having a bad day. And we don't want to have millions of Ubuntu users around the world. We push an NVIDIA driver update and then suddenly a million machines blow up. So it needs careful thought, and yeah, I agree with you. Something needs to be done about that. I agree. Maybe we should deliver them as click packages.
Not sure if this would work for graphics drivers.
Yeah, it was kind of a joke, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to. I'm chatting with Alberto right now. He said for now the Xorg Edges PPA is your best bet. Our SIU policy, I'm going to talk about that in a moment, is a bit too strict and takes too long to keep up with upstream. It's in the latest development release already, but not in the stable release right now.
Right.
Yeah. So SIU means stable release updates. So we're quite strict when it comes to landing new code in a stable release. That's because we know that we have millions of users relying on certain functionality, and if just small things change here and there, it can mess up, the workflow of an entire company or something. It has happened in the past. You have a fix that looks very obvious to you, like a one-line change or something, and yeah, we had the problem like in the very, very early days that I think it was like 10% of our users couldn't get their X to work, so all the graphics, and just imagine that for like 10% of millions and millions of Ubuntu users who can't get any work done. That's that's why we're very strict and we need a lot of testing and we can't push the latest and greatest just as is into a stable release. And Alberto also says, as for Vivid, I delayed the introduction of the new drive issue, but new releases will land soon. Okay, here we go. Right. Next question. Andrew Hazen asks, which channel of Ubuntu Touch do you run on your devices? Is it Vivid? Is it Proposed, RTM, RTM Proposed, or Old School Trusty? How about you, Alan?
That's a good question. I'm actually having to poke at it right now to find out.
Right, for me, it's RTM Proposed. I haven't upgraded to Vivid yet, not because I'm afraid that stuff could break. I usually had very, very good experiences, especially with all the automated and manual testing that goes into things. Yeah, I used RTM Propose just because I wanted to see where things stand with the stuff we're actually going to get out on phones real soon now. And Alan is showing something to us.
You couldn't see that. 1410 I'm running. It says here.
There you go. Akiva asked, what are the advantages of Mir over X? What are the disadvantages?
Of what over what?
Mir over X.
Oh, crikey, you're asking the wrong guy here.
Right. I mean, there's a couple of things which are pretty obvious. Like, a disadvantage is, like, quite a bunch of people have to put quite a bit of work into writing something that already, to some degree, exists, at least in terms of the functionality. So, as always, when you rewrite things, which happens very often in the open source community, whenever something is done and stable, people decide, we can do that better, and just go and rewrite it. But with that, you often you encounter the same kind of bugs again, like the small details you fix over 10, 20, in the case of X, 30 years. So that's obviously a disadvantage. On the other hand, having Mir on phones and soon on desktops, one giant advantage is going to be that it's going to be much more secure. Right now with X, it's quite easy for an app to eavesdrop on what your mouse is doing, what you're putting on the keyboard. And with Mir, that's going to be much. It's going to be impossible. at least as far as I understand it, and that's why we are very careful with running random apps from the internet on Ubuntu. That's why we have this review process where every bit of software that goes into Ubuntu is reviewed, so we can be sure there's no key loggers and that kind of stuff. With the phone, it's going to be easy for us to accept apps into the store because we know everything is confined, everything is running in its own sandbox, and if it wants access to something like your phone book or whatever else, it's going to ask for it. And that's, for me, the biggest advantage. I think that at a point in the very near future, a lot of people are not going to care if X or Mir is powering the desktop. They're not going to care.
Yeah, what he said.
Moving on. Is there ever going to be a phone OS style role-based permission framework fully implemented in desktop Ubuntu? So you can say application X can or cannot access your webcam. Yeah, that's what we just talked about, basically. That is a reality already. If you right now you can install the Unity 8 desktop session mail package in Utopic, but better in Vivid because it's more up to date in there. Their apps are will have to ask you for permission to do certain things. So if they want access to webcam or location or whatever else, they will have to ask you for that. And the good thing is, it's not like with Android, where you basically say in the beginning, okay, I grant this app all of these permissions, but your app will have to inform you, like, I want to do this because of blah, 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 and then you say yes or no. Cool. Akiva asked, why didn't you guys use Java to make Ubuntu Touch? Isn't it the best programming language in the world, especially for phones, or did Google lie to me?
Hang on, my sarcasm meter has just exploded.
Right. So I didn't touch Java in a very long time. When I was studying, it was a lot of people enjoyed it. But I mean, Akiva, you already know this. You have worked with Ubuntu's apps. But to everyone else, I can highly recommend to have a look at QML and using JavaScript for apps. I think it's just fantastic. It's very easy to learn. The amount of code you have to write is very low. It's just great. But if you're a Java person, use Java.
Right, or C++, or Go, or Python, or potentially you can use pretty much anything. For our SDK, we recommend QML. It had the right balance of power and ease of use, but it's possible for you to use others as well. We've got apps in the store that were written in C++. Some of our own apps are written in C++. Some of them are QML, and yeah, I've mentioned this a few times. There is even a Java app in the store. So pretty much all things are possible.
Another question by Akiva. Firefox is going to be using Yahoo as the default search engine. Would Ubuntu consider changing it to something like DuckDuckGo or Google instead, or is Yahoo not awful anymore? I don't know of any plans right now. Sorry.
Well, we had this conversation some years back about whether we would switch to a different search provider, and the decision was made to stick with Google. And I think this is a conversation that needs to be had with the desktop team, and it's a conversation you could have on the Ubuntu desktop mailing list. and I would put forward your argument as to why you think we should switch. Bear in mind that there is revenue generated from the search traffic that's done via the package that we install by default. Obviously, you could override that. You can go and install a different browser, and you can change all those settings. But by default, there is revenue generated that keeps people like Daniel and myself employed, and keeps us working on the projects we're working on. So that's a bonus. So while part of the argument could be, well, DuckDuckGo is insert whatever reason here for using DuckDuckGo. Financial takes is a factor as well. So you need to know what kind of expected revenue might be, and unfortunately, those kind of conversations are private commercial conversations. In the same way that the conversation that Mozilla Foundation would have had with Google is a private conversation, and the conversation that Mozilla would have had with Yahoo for their new search provider would be a private conversation. So it's actually a tricky area. I can say certainly if you brought the subject up and gave coherent arguments as to why, not just it's better or it doesn't abuse your privacy, but a list of all the reasons, pros and cons for switching to DuckDuckGo or Yahoo or even Bing or whatever. Start page apparently is quite popular as well. I think it's a conversation we should have, and we should review regularly.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think we should just factor this based on which one of them gives us the most revenue, or just based on privacy. There has to be a balance of all of the factors, and there are pros and cons to each of them. There's also does it provide reasonable results in different territories as well? If you're in China, for example, or you're in the Middle East, or you're in South Africa or South America, do you get the best results for where you are for what you're searching for? And that has to be factored in as well.
Just one. Hex asked, when will hybrid SSDs be supported?
I thought they already were. I thought they'd just seen so hybrid SSDs, aren't they the ones that have SSD and spinning Rust inside them as well? And yeah, they're just seen as a disk, I thought, and internally it does all the moving stuff around. I thought. I don't know enough about that, clearly.
Yeah, there's some discussion going on IRC. Yeah, they're not sure either. Okay, moving on.
I mean, I know some people who have two physically separate drives, a low-capacity SSD, either for home, and a higher capacity spinning Rust for root, and a spinning Rust for home. And there are also some people who put everything on an old traditional spinning rotational drive, but you use something like I think it's Bcache, which allows you to cache recently or commonly used stuff on the SSD to improve performance. And that's a kernel-supported thing, but it's not something that's done out of the box. You have to do a bit of manual fiddling to make that work.
Okay.
But it works.
Okay. Where are we? I think I skipped one question earlier.
Was it
somebody said, do you think Ubuntu Touch is better than Android?
Yes. So yeah, that's the answer to that one. Move on.
Okay. Another question from Akiva. As a phone developer, will you be using a sudo apt-get update way of keeping your phone current, or will you stick with the stable releases?
So that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
So the phone image that we make is read-only by default. So, and the reason why it's read-only, there's a couple of reasons why it's read-only. Partly security, so that it can't be messed with, and partly so that we can deliver incremental updates as diffs. So on my phone, for example, I just went to the updates, system update, and there's an update for my phone. And rather than downloading 300 megabytes of new read-only image, it just downloads the difference between the read-only image I currently have and the next image. So it means system updates are smaller, they're nice and lean, and they're easy to deliver, and we have a system for delivering these. And if you leave it a long while and you don't update your phone, and then you go away on holiday, you go traveling, and then when you come back to Wi-Fi, you update your phone. It might not actually do a little incremental update. It might do a full update because things have changed so much since the last one. It's actually more efficient to just download a whole read-only image. However, that being said, the fundamental components of this thing are the Debian packaging system. It's a read-only system image, but the bits and pieces inside it are Debian packages that have been installed into the file system. So you could make it read-write, and that's very easy. One line, make it read-write, and then you could apt get install whatever, or you could download random source code onto your phone and build it directly, build ARM binaries on your phone, or you could download Debian packages from the Ubuntu archive and put them straight onto your phone. You can do that. It is like what you might call a real Linux phone because it's built using the same technology as the desktop. So you can do that. I personally wouldn't because I like having a read-only file system that can't get messed with and diffs arriving as and when the updates are delivered. But you can actually flip-flop between them. You can make the phone read-write and then do some apt-get installs, add PPAs, monkey around with it, and then when you're done, make it read-write again, and then do a full system install. You won't lose your data that's in your home directory. You'll lose whatever you did that was done after you made the system writable. But it's a good way that you can. It's good that you can flip-flop between them. You end up downloading a lot because you've got to reinstall the entire read-only image after you make it read-write because the diffs no longer work because you've touched it and you've changed it. Does that all make sense, or have I just?
It does. No. It makes perfect sense. And also, you don't need to download the apt lists. So apt update, running it on an AMD64 machine, for example. Right now, it's like 20 megabytes, just lists of packages. It's insane.
Right.
So you also don't need to do that. So I would recommend, like, if you're not a system developer, if you're not hacking on the system where you need to tinker around with some of the files or wait for a specific version to land or to install debug symbols or have GDB something, if you don't need to do any of that, don't do it. It's not worth it. Like,
right.
Why? Like if you have an app you're working on, you can also deploy it on the phone, get it from the store. You can do all of that just without having to meddle with the system.
And interestingly, I think that's going to change soon because right now there's actually Ubuntu phones are quite rare. There's nobody selling them in the shops. So unless you've got one like a Nexus 4 or a community maintained port like a Nexus 5, it's difficult to install Ubuntu on a phone because there's very limited number of phones out there that you can install it. Very soon there will be not very expensive devices that you could buy. So you could have your main phone that you use, that you keep read-only and is nice and safe and secure, and you're happy keeping all your data on, but then you could have another phone, because they're not that expensive, buy one of those and use that for development. And you could make that read-write, and you could use apt and depackage and GDB and all that kind of stuff. And it makes it a much more viable proposition to have multiple phones, a real daily driver and another phone.
That makes perfect sense. All right. Next question. Is there a system monitor app for the Ubuntu Touch?
Ooh.
No idea.
So, what? Something to look at things like CPU utilization and stuff like that. There's top, and we've got a terminal.
Done.
You're done, surely. That's all you need. So one thing we are working on, and this is a little way off, but it's something we're working on and we're planning for with the terminal app. We know that there are a number of Linux nerds like us who like shell utilities, like top, htop, iostat, vmstat, all these kind of things. And we want to make it easier for people to package those up and put them in the store. So the idea is that you could reuse our terminal and bundle into a package in the store any command line tool, whether it's Moonbuggy or any system utility. Maybe you prefer htop. Well, htop doesn't ship on our phone. We don't put it in the image because we can't fit everything in the phone. So what you could do soon is make a click package that has htop in it, put that in the store with the necessary bits that make it launch the terminal, and then someone could install htop from the store, and then when they tap on the htop icon, it launches htop in a full screen, and there's your super useful command line utility. You can do that for any command line utility. Cool, huh?
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that myself. I'm going to fill the store with every command line utility. But I mean, you can add things like Mutt and ERC and all those command line tools that we've all grown up with and we know and love. That don't ship on the phone, but we want to make it possible for you to run those on the phone really easily. And make your own command line apps. You can even charge for them.
You have to think about that.
Paid version of Mutt in the store. HD or something. I don't know.
Could imagine that it would be the most sold app in the store, easily.
Yeah, I think Cowsay might rank up there as well. Actually.
All right, Matteo asks, "I hearing jingle bells. Is that from your room?" It might be a fan we're hearing on your end, maybe, or something. I don't know. Is it jingle? No.
Every so often there's a train that goes by here, and I've zoned out. I don't hear it, and people tell me that I've got this stupid microphone, and people tell me that the microphone picks up the sound of the train going by.
Wow.
And, I don't even notice it, but apparently it's like thundering, like there's an aircraft landing on my house or something. I don't notice it.
Yeah.
But no bells, unless it was Father Christmas.
No idea. Silvio asked, "Have you considered a feature for Ubuntu Touch that would allow users to cast their desktop, like Android, to the TV or to the Ubuntu PC in a local Wi-Fi network, for example?"
Yeah, so there's a protocol called Miracast. I think Miracast, nothing to do with our display server technology, Mir, but Miracast. I think it's supposed to be pronounced something like Miracast, but that's commonly used in a lot of products and projects. And I could see how that would be super cool. I think we haven't got to the point where there is content on your device that you could stream. It's like our phone doesn't have Netflix. I mean, I guess we've got YouTube on there, but as a web app. But I think there's a bit of a chicken and egg thing going on there. We need apps on there that you are motivated to want to broadcast to your TV. But it's entirely possible. Miracast is I believe an open standard, and libraries are available. So someone could create an app that allows you to stream what's on your phone to the TV. Yeah, that's possible, and that would be cool.
Yeah. I have no idea about all of that, but make it happen. Okay, a question by Akiva. Is there a QML API or components for working with phone internal gyroscope, GPS, hydrocoils, flux capacitors, etc., or do these have to be done all in Qt? So for GPS, I don't know about flux capacitors, but for GPS, for example, there's the location service, so there's APIs you can use for that, and I don't know about gyroscopes. No idea.
There's actually an app in the store which is called, if I can remember what it's called, I think it's just called Sensors. I don't have it installed on my device. I'm pretty sure it's made by a guy called Johan, who also made the OpenStreetMap application. And if I look for Sensors, it's called Sensors Status. It's rated 4.7 out of 5, so it is super useful. And what it does is it shows you all the sensors that it has access to. So yeah, that's GPS. It will tell you your lat and long. It'll tell you your altitude, your acceleration, and all kinds of other things. So I've just installed it on my device, and some of the bits don't work, but yeah. So I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's showing there some data that it's got from the sensors. So yeah, tells me my altitude is 41.4. I don't know 41.4 what, but
No idea.
no, me neither. But yeah, it works. That's good.
And Andrew just also said on ISE there's the Qt Sensors API and Qt Feedback, so you just might want to use those.
Oh, I know Andrew's working on a game that uses the sensors, so yeah, he knows a bit about that. So that's good.
Some random dude asks, will Emacs work on Ubuntu Touch?
Yes. So I went to my local Linux user group over a year ago with a Nexus 4, and I demoed Ubuntu at my local Linux user group. And you know, my local Linux user group is predominantly people of an older generation, that is, people older than me, and you know, one of the questions was, you know, this is interesting to me. It's a Linux phone, a Linux tablet, but does it run Emacs? That's the big thing. If it runs Emacs, I'll buy one, but if it doesn't, I'm not interested. And yeah, you can run Emacs on your Ubuntu phone, totally. I don't think we ship it by default. We ship Vim by default and Nano, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, pretty sure we do.
I guess it's not what's it called? Vim full. It's not the.
No, it's the Vim Tiny, I think, or whatever it's called, the small version of Vim. But yeah, there is a text editor. I mean, I think the idea is you don't necessarily want to edit text files on a tiny touch screen very often, but
no.
If you had to, you could.
And I don't know, using :WQ on the Ubuntu keyboard, not sure.
Yeah.
Not
so,
convinced.
Yeah, there's definitely Nano. That's on there in our terminal. Hooray!
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Akiva asked, and somebody earlier remarked, did I join Akiva on air by mistake? It's true. The vast majority of questions are Akiva questions. So last question is, why is Batman and the Holbach never in the same room together at the same time?
Wow. I think we need to be told.
All right, that's it.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Brilliant questions. I had loads of fun. Probably next week you're going to see Mike and Nick, I guess.
Well, it won't be me because I'm on vacation. So.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Actually, I was like to join the IRC and ask them loads of awkward questions. Something that with a random nickname. I'll call myself, I don't know, Akiva Dell or something like that, instead of Akiva ThinkPad, and ask them awkward questions.
Brilliant. All right. Any last words? Anything?
Nope.
Nope. Then everyone have a good time.
Yeah. Happy holidays, everyone. If I don't see you before, thank you. See you in the new year.
Yep. Same here. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.